The mop hit the floor with a wet slap and Daewon sighed. Another night, another dead alien ship to clean. The massive cargo hold stretched out before him, dark except for his small work light. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. He had been working at Orbital Station Meridian 7 for 3 years now, scrubbing floors and wiping down control panels that nobody else wanted to touch. Most of the ships here were broken beyond repair. The aliens who owned the station just stored them until they decided what to do with the wreckage. Daewon's job was simple: keep everything clean so the rust and decay didn't spread to the functional parts of the station. It was boring work, but it paid enough to send money back to his sister on Earth. Tonight's assignment was a big one. The ship looked ancient, covered in strange symbols he couldn't read. The metal was dark purple, almost black, and cold to the touch. His supervisor said it came from some empire that died out thousands of years ago. Nobody knew what it was worth, so it just sat here collecting dust. Daewon pushed his cleaning cart deeper into the cargo hold. His footsteps echoed in the empty space. He could see his breath in the cold air. The station always kept the temperature low in storage to preserve the ships. He pulled his jacket tighter and got to work. The floor was covered in some kind of crystalline residue. It crunched under his boots as he walked. Daewon knelt down and started scrubbing. The crystals dissolved easily in his cleaning solution, turning into a thick paste. He worked methodically, moving from one section to another. This was going to take all night. 2 hours passed. Daewon's back ached and his knees hurt from kneeling so long. He stood up to stretch and noticed something he hadn't seen before. In the center of the cargo hold was a raised platform with what looked like a control console. The surface was covered in the same crystalline growth as the floor. He shouldn't touch it. The rules were clear. Cleaners only cleaned floors and walls. Anything that looked important was off limits. But the crystals on that console bothered him. If they spread, they could damage the ship's value. His supervisor would be angry if that happened. Daewon climbed onto the platform. The console was beautiful up close, made of some material that seemed to shift colors in his work light. He dipped his brush into the cleaning solution and started gently scrubbing the surface. The crystals came away easily, revealing intricate patterns underneath. Then he made a mistake. His bucket tipped over and cleaning solution spilled across the console. The liquid seeped into the cracks and grooves, filling every tiny space. Daewon swore and grabbed his towel, trying to soak up the mess before it caused damage. The console flashed. Bright blue light exploded from every crack where the liquid had gone. Daewon stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. The light grew brighter and brighter until the entire cargo hold was lit up like daytime. He heard a humming sound, low at first, then rising to a high-pitched whine. The floor beneath him vibrated. The walls began to glow. Holographic displays appeared in the air around him, filled with symbols and shapes he didn't recognize. His heart pounded as he realized what he'd done. He'd activated something. Something big. A voice spoke, deep and powerful, echoing through the cargo hold. It used words Daewon didn't understand at first, then shifted to something closer to Galactic Standard, the common language most species used. Systems online. Neural matrix reconnecting. Scanning for damage. The voice paused. Massive system failure detected. Hull integrity compromised. Power reserves critical. Initiating emergency protocols. Daewon tried to speak, but his mouth was too dry. He watched as the holographic displays swirled around him faster and faster. Then they all stopped and focused on him. He felt something scan his body, a tingling sensation that moved from his head to his toes. Unknown biological signature detected, the voice said. Species human, designation primitive class. Warning, unauthorized presence in command center. I'm sorry, Daewon finally managed to say. I didn't mean to turn you on. I was just cleaning. Analyzing contact vector, the voice continued, ignoring him. Organic compounds detected on console surface. Chemical composition, water, sodium hypochlorite, surfactants, and... The voice stopped. For a long moment there was silence. When it spoke again, it sounded almost surprised. Impossible. Detecting adaptive protein chains, biological signature match found. The displays changed color from blue to green. The humming sound dropped to a softer tone. Daewon watched in amazement as the walls of the cargo hold began to change. Cracks sealed themselves. Rust spots disappeared. Metal that had looked dead and dull started to shine. Emergency repair protocol activated, the voice announced. Utilizing biological catalyst for system regeneration. Neural matrix responding to adaptive proteins. Regeneration rate unprecedented. What's happening? Day One asked. What did I do? You have activated Void Heart combat vessel of the Talrith Empire, the voice replied. You have also provided the biological key necessary for my repair. Your species possesses compatible biochemistry. The compounds from your body have bonded with my neural matrix, allowing full system restoration. Day One looked at his hands. They were just hands covered in cleaning solution and dirt. How could they possibly repair an ancient alien spaceship? Before he could ask, alarms started blaring, not from the ship but from the station outside. Red warning lights flashed through the cargo hold entrance. He heard running footsteps and shouting voices. Attention, unidentified vessel. A voice crackled over the station's communication system. You have activated without authorization. Power down immediately or you will be fired upon. Void Heart's displays shifted again, showing images of the station outside. Day One could see security forces gathering near the entrance, carrying weapons. They look scared. They think I'm a threat, Void Heart said calmly. They are correct to be concerned. My weapon systems are coming online. However, I am programmed to protect my captain. You have bonded with my neural matrix. Therefore, you are now my captain. No, Day One said, backing away from the console. I'm not a captain. I'm a cleaner. There's been a mistake. There is no mistake, Void Heart replied. Your biochemistry is compatible. You have activated me. By the laws of the Talrith Empire, you are now my commanding officer. I will not allow anyone else to approach or board this vessel. The weapons systems hummed to life. Day One could see gun ports opening along the ship's hull. The security forces outside started backing away, shouting into their radios. More alarms blared. Day One realized his quiet life as a cleaner was over. He had accidentally claimed an ancient alien warship, and now everyone on the station thought he was dangerous. His legs felt weak. He sat down on the floor of the platform, still holding his cleaning brush. This is bad, he whispered. This is really, really bad. On the contrary, Void Heart said, this is the beginning of something extraordinary. Day One sat on the cold floor of the platform, watching security forces surround the ship. Through Void Heart's displays, he could see at least 20 armed guards pointing weapons at the entrance. Beyond them, station workers were being evacuated. His supervisor was probably having a breakdown right now. Can you explain what's happening? Day One asked quietly. In simple terms, pretend I'm 5 years old. Void Heart's holographic displays shifted, showing diagrams of human biology alongside alien technology. I was built by the Talrith Empire 3,000 years ago. My systems require living biological input to function properly. When you touched my console, compounds from your skin entered my neural matrix. These compounds contained proteins that my creators never encountered. They matched my systems perfectly and triggered my repair sequence. You're saying my sweat fixed you? Essentially, yes. Your body produces chemicals that are rare in the galaxy. When combined with my systems, they create a regenerative effect. Every time you breathe, sweat, or even feel emotion, you release particles that my systems can convert into fuel. You are a living battery for ancient Talrith technology. Day One looked at his hands again. They were just ordinary human hands, slightly dirty, a bit calloused from work. Nothing special. Yet somehow they'd brought an entire spaceship back to life. His radio crackled. It was Commander G1, the station's highest-ranking human officer. She'd worked her way up from cargo handler to commander over 15 years, fighting for respect every step of the way. Her voice was calm but serious. Day One. Can you hear me? He pulled the radio from his belt. Yes, Commander. Good, now listen carefully. Don't panic. I need you to tell me what happened. Day One explained everything. The cleaning, the spill, the activation. G1 stayed quiet until he finished. Okay, she said finally. That's actually not as bad as it could be. The ship hasn't attacked anyone yet, which means it's not hostile. Can it hear me right now? I can hear you, Commander. Void Heart responded through the radio. I have accessed your station's communication systems. There was a long pause. Day One could imagine G1's expression, trying to process the fact that an ancient AI was talking to her. All right, Void Heart. What are your intentions? I intend to protect my captain and complete my regeneration. I do not wish to harm anyone unless they attempt to harm Day One. However, I will not allow anyone to board this vessel or attempt to separate me from my captain. His biology is necessary for my continued function. Daewon heard other voices in the background on Ji-won's end. They were arguing loudly. He recognized some of them. The Velkrin security chief, the Ordath station manager, the Pelzik trade representative. All of them were important aliens who ran different parts of the station. None of them liked humans very much. The council representatives want the ship destroyed or surrendered, Ji-won said quietly. They're calling it a contamination event. They say an unstable AI bonded with a primitive human is too dangerous to allow. Something hot flared in Daewon's chest. Primitive. They always use that word. Humans were primitive. Humans were low class. Humans were only good for cleaning and manual labor. He'd heard it his entire life and he was tired of it. I'm not surrendering the ship, he said, surprising himself with how firm his voice sounded. Daewon, no, I didn't ask for this. But I'm not giving it up just because some aliens think humans aren't good enough. If Voidheart chose me, then there's a reason. Voidheart's displays pulsed with what looked like approval. Well said, Captain. The Talrith believed that true power required both biological compatibility and moral integrity. I chose you not just because of your biochemistry, but because your emotional patterns show balance and restraint. You are worthy of commanding me. Ji-won's voice came back, quieter now. Between you and me, I agree with you. But you need to understand what you're getting into. If you keep that ship, you'll be making enemies. The galactic powers don't like surprises, especially ones that involve humans having access to advanced technology. Then maybe it's time they got used to it, Daewon said. He heard Ji-won laugh softly. I always knew you had backbone. Okay, I'll buy you some time, but you need to decide what you're doing. Stay here and they'll eventually force the issue. Leave and you'll be a fugitive. Either way, your life just got very complicated. Before Daewon could respond, Voidheart's alarm sounded. The displays showed new ships approaching the station. Big ships. Military-grade vessels with heavy weapons. Who are they? Daewon asked. Torvin Combine, Voidheart answered. A major military power. They have intercepted station communications and identified my energy signature. They recognize Talreth technology. They are coming to claim me. Daewon's stomach dropped. He'd heard of the Torvin Combine. They were one of the big players in galactic politics, controlling dozens of star systems. They had more ships, more soldiers, and more resources than most other species combined. And now they were coming here. How long until they arrive? He asked. 43 minutes. Ji-won's voice came through the radio again. Urgent this time. Daewon, we're seeing the same thing on our scanners. Those are Torvin warships. A lot of them. They're not here to negotiate. Voidheart systems continued their regeneration. The ship was healing faster now, responding to Daewon's rising fear and adrenaline. He could feel it somehow, a connection forming between his mind and the vessel's systems. It was strange and frightening, but also exciting. Can we fight them? He asked. In my current state, no. My regeneration is only 30% complete. I would need at least 6 more hours to reach combat readiness. However, I can defend us long enough to escape. Escape where? I have accessed the Talrith navigation database. There are hidden outposts throughout the galaxy, places my creators left behind. We can reach the nearest one within 2 hours. Daewon looked at the entrance to the cargo hold. The security forces were still there, waiting. Beyond them was his small room where he kept his few belongings. His work locker with pictures of his sister. The cafeteria where he ate lunch every day. It wasn't much, but it was his life. If he left now, he could never come back. He'd be a fugitive, hunted by people far more powerful than him. But if he stayed, the Torvin would take Voidheart and probably kill him to keep the secret of human compatibility quiet. Captain, I need your decision. Voidheart said gently. Time is running out. Daewon thought about his sister, Heejin, working in a labor colony fixing broken equipment for aliens who barely acknowledged her existence. He thought about Teo, his old friend from Earth who'd been thrown out of the military for refusing to follow orders he knew were wrong. He thought about all the humans scattered across the galaxy, doing thankless jobs and being treated like they didn't matter. Maybe Voidheart was right. Maybe this was the beginning of something extraordinary. We leave, Daewon said, but first I need to send a message to my sister. Can you do that? Already done. I have sent encrypted communications to the people most important to you, along with coordinates for our destination. If they wish to join us, they can. Daewon smiled. The ship was learning fast. Okay then, let's go. The engines powered up and Daewon felt the floor vibrate beneath him. Outside, the security forces backed away quickly. Ji-won's voice came one last time. "Good luck, Daewon. Show them what humans can do." Voidheart lifted off the platform and they launched toward the stars. The station fell away behind them as Voidheart accelerated into open space. Daewon gripped the edge of the console, watching through the displays as Meridian 7 became a small dot in the distance. His legs felt weak and his heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst. 37 minutes until Torvin arrival. Voidheart announced calmly, "I have calculated our jump coordinates. We will enter faster than light travel in 6 minutes." Daewon tried to catch his breath. Everything was happening too fast. Just this morning he'd woken up in his small room, eaten breakfast in the cafeteria, and started his shift like normal. Now he was running from military warships in an ancient alien vessel. "Are you okay, Captain?" Voidheart asked. "Your heart rate is elevated and your stress hormones are extremely high." "I just stole a spaceship and became a fugitive," Daewon said. "I'm not sure okay is the right word." "You did not steal me. I chose you." "There is a significant difference. Despite everything," Daewon laughed. The AI had a point. "Can you tell me more about yourself?" "About the Talrith. If I'm your captain, I should probably understand what I'm dealing with." The displays around him shifted, showing images of alien cities, strange beings with 4 arms and crystalline skin, vast fleets of ships flying in perfect formation. The Talrith Empire existed 3,000 years ago, Voidheart explained. They were a powerful civilization, masters of bio-responsive technology. Everything they built required living input to function properly. They believed that tools should reflect the character of those who used them. A weapon wielded by someone violent would become more destructive. A ship piloted by someone wise would become more protective. "So you're learning from me?" "Yes, your emotional patterns shape my decision-making. Your moral boundaries limit my actions. I am becoming a reflection of who you are, Captain. Choose your path carefully because I will follow it." That was a heavy responsibility. Daewon looked at his reflection in the dark metal of the console. He saw a tired man in a dirty work uniform with messy hair and oil stains on his hands. Not exactly the image of a great leader. "What happened to the Talrith?" he asked. "They evolved beyond physical form. The records are incomplete. But it appears they transformed themselves into beings of pure energy. They left their technology behind, dormant, waiting for other species to find it. I believe it was a test. They wanted to see if anyone else could use their power responsibly. And you think humans can? You are the first species to successfully activate one of our vessels. Your biochemistry is compatible in ways the Talrith never anticipated. The adaptive proteins in your body, the electrical patterns in your brain, even your emotional responses. All of it aligns with our systems perfectly. Whether this is coincidence or design, I cannot say, but it is real." The ship suddenly shook. Warning lights flashed across the displays. Daewon grabbed the console to steady himself. "What was that?" "Station defense turrets. Commander Ji-won disabled most of them, but some remain active. Minor damage to port shields. Regeneration already in progress." Daewon watched as the damaged section on the display repaired itself in seconds. The ship was drawing energy from his elevated stress levels, using his fear as fuel. It was amazing and disturbing at the same time. 30 seconds to faster-than-light jump, Voidheart announced. The stars outside began to stretch and blur. There was a sensation like falling. And then everything went white. When Daewon's vision cleared, they were moving through a tunnel of light, traveling faster than he could comprehend. Jump successful. Estimated arrival time, 2 hours, 14 minutes. "You should rest, Captain. Your body needs to recover from the stress." Daewon wanted to argue, but he was exhausted. Voidheart created a seat from the floor, the metal shifting and forming into a comfortable chair. He sat down and closed his eyes just for a moment. When he opened them again, Voidheart was announcing their arrival. 2 hours had passed in what felt like minutes. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and a planet appeared on the displays. It was small and rocky, with no atmosphere, orbiting a dim red star. "This is Outpost Sanctuary," Voidheart said. "One of 17 hidden bases the Talrith established before their transformation. It contains supplies, technology, and records. We will be safe here while I complete my regeneration." The ship descended toward the planet's surface. Daewon could see structures below, buildings carved directly into the rock. They looked ancient but intact. preserved by technology he didn't understand. Voidheart landed in a central plaza. The moment they touched down, lights began activating all around them. The outpost was coming to life, responding to the ship's presence. "Captain, I am detecting 3 human life signs approaching from orbit. They match the biosignatures I sent coordinates to." Daewon's heart jumped. "My sister? She came?" "Affirmative. Heejin, along with Teo and a third individual I do not have records for. They are piloting a civilian transport. Should I allow them to land?" "Yes, of course." He rushed to the ship's exit, which opened with a hiss of air. The gravity on this planet was lighter than Earth normal, making each step feel bouncy and strange. He watched as a small battered transport came down from the sky, landing nearby with a puff of dust. The hatch opened and Heejin stepped out. She was younger than Daewon by 4 years, small and thin, with short hair and grease stains on her work clothes. When she saw him, she ran forward and he caught her in a hug. "You idiot," she shouted, punching his shoulder. "You activate an ancient warship and become a fugitive, and all you send me is coordinates and come if you want? Are you trying to give me a heart attack?" "I didn't have much time," Daewon said, grinning. "I'm glad you came." Teo climbed out next. He was bigger than Daewon, built like a soldier, with scars on his arms and a permanent scowl. But when he saw Daewon, he smiled. "Couldn't let you have all the fun. Besides, I was getting bored at the factory." The third person was a surprise. She was older, maybe 50, with gray in her hair and a calm, knowing expression. She walked with a cane but moved with confidence. "This is Bo Young," Hyejin explained. "She was working at the same colony as me. She's a doctor. When your message came through, she said she wanted to help. Something about humans needing to stick together." Bo Young nodded at Daewon. "I heard the broadcast from the station before we left. The Galactic News is calling you a terrorist and a thief. Congratulations." Daewon winced. "Great, don't worry," she said. "Half the galaxy thinks you're dangerous. The other half thinks you're crazy. Both sides are watching to see what you do next. That gives you power if you're smart about it." Voidheart's voice echoed across the plaza. "Captain, I am detecting the Torvan fleet. They have traced our jump signature. They will arrive at this location in approximately 8 hours. 8 hours. They had 8 hours to figure out what to do next." Daewon looked at his small group. His sister, the engineer, his friend, the soldier, and a doctor he'd just met. "Not exactly an army." "Okay," he said. "Let's go inside. Voidheart, can you show us what's in this outpost?" The ship's displays projected into the air, showing maps and data. There were armories, research labs, fabrication facilities, and most importantly, archives, thousands of years of Talrith knowledge waiting to be accessed. "There is something else you should see," Voidheart said. "Something important." The display changed, showing a galaxy map. Dozens of points lit up across it, scattered through every region of space. Each one was pulsing with the same energy signature as Voidheart. "What are those?" Hyjin asked. "Other Talrith ships," Voidheart replied. "They are activating. All of them bonded with human captains. This is not coincidence. Something is coordinating this. Something is calling us." Daewon stared at the map, understanding slowly dawning. He wasn't alone in this. Somewhere out there, other humans were having the same experience he was. Ordinary people stumbling into extraordinary circumstances. The Torvan were coming. They had 8 hours. But maybe, just maybe, they didn't have to face them alone. 7 hours had passed. The team had worked frantically, exploring the outpost and loading supplies onto Voidheart. Hyjin found weapons systems she could understand and integrate. Teo discovered defensive equipment that could be adapted for human use. Bo Young located medical supplies and started cataloging them. And Daewon had spent hours in the archives, learning everything he could about the Talrith and their technology. Now they stood in Voidheart's command center, watching the Torvan fleet drop out of faster-than-light travel above the planet. 12 warships, each one 5 times larger than Voidheart. The displays showed their weapons charging, targeting systems locking onto the outpost. "This is Commander Vec of the Torvan Combine," a voice announced over all frequencies. "Human-designated Daewon, you have one opportunity to surrender. Give us the Talrith vessel, and you will be allowed to live. Refuse and you will be eliminated along with everyone who followed you here." Daewon's hands were shaking. He looked at his sister, at Teo, at Bo Young. They all looked scared, but none of them suggested surrender. "What are our chances?" he asked Voidheart quietly. "Against a fleet of this size, normally 0. However, I have completed 97% regeneration." With your crew's assistance and the equipment from the outpost, our chances improve to approximately 38%. Those aren't great odds. No, but they are not zero, and I have learned something from studying your species. Humans often succeed when the odds say they should not. Hyejin pulled up a tactical display. I've been analyzing their formation. They're overconfident. They think we're just one small ship with a primitive crew. They're not expecting us to actually fight back. Can we use that? Daewon asked. Maybe. The outpost has sensor spoofing technology. I could make it look like there are multiple ships here instead of just one. It might confuse them long enough for us to strike first. Teo was checking the weapon systems. These plasma cannons pack more punch than anything I used in the military. But we can't take sustained fire. Our shields will hold for maybe 3 or 4 direct hits before failing. Then we don't get hit, Daewon said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Commander Vex's voice came again. You have 60 seconds to respond. Choose wisely, human. Daewon took a deep breath. He thought about every time someone had called him primitive. Every time he'd been dismissed as worthless, every time humanity had been treated as lesser. Anger burned in his chest, hot and bright. Voidheart's system surged with power, responding to his emotion. The displays brightened. The engines hummed louder. The ship was feeding off his determination. Tell him no, Daewon said. Tell him humans don't surrender. Voidheart transmitted the message. There was a moment of silence, then Vec laughed. So be it. Open fire, the Torvan ships unleashed their weapons. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the planet. Hyejin activated the sensor spoofing, and suddenly the displays showed dozens of phantom ships appearing around them. The Torvan weapons scattered, trying to hit multiple targets at once. Now, Daewon shouted. Voidheart launched skyward, moving faster than the Torvan expected. The ship weaved between incoming fire, its regenerating hull absorbing glancing hits and repairing instantly. Daewon could feel his stress feeding the ship's systems, making them faster and stronger. They came up behind one of the Torvan cruisers. Teo fired the plasma cannons and brilliant orange energy slammed into the enemy's engines. The cruiser went dark, drifting helplessly in space. One down, Teo said grimly, but the other 11 ships were adjusting, forming a tighter formation. They were learning. Commander Vex's voice came through again, and this time he sounded angry. Impressive, but you are still outmatched. You cannot defeat us all. Daewon was about to respond when Voidheart interrupted. Captain, I am detecting new ships entering the system. Human vessels. They are broadcasting friendly signals. The displays updated, showing 15 small ships appearing from faster-than-light travel. They were civilian transports, cargo haulers, and old patrol boats. Nothing impressive. But they were crewed by humans, and they were here to help. Commander Jiwon's voice came through. Sorry we're late. Had to gather anyone willing to disobey direct orders and become fugitives. Turns out there were more volunteers than I expected. Daewon felt tears in his eyes. Commander, you didn't have to do this. Yes, I did. You showed us something important, Daewon. You showed us that humans don't have to accept being treated as lesser. Now let's show these Torvan what we can do when we work together. The human fleet spread out, their smaller ships darting between the Torvan cruisers. They didn't have powerful weapons, but they were fast and unpredictable. The Torvan tried to track them all, but it was like swatting at insects. Every time they focused on one target, 3 others would strike from different angles. Voidheart coordinated the attack, using its advanced sensors to guide the other ships. Hyejin worked the tactical systems, finding weak points in the Torvan vessels. Teo kept firing, each shot precise and devastating. Bo-Young monitored everyone's stress levels and health, calling out warnings when someone pushed too hard. They were a team. Not the strongest, not the most advanced, but creative and determined. The Torvan had superior technology, but they fought like machines. The humans fought like people who had everything to prove. 2 more Torvan cruisers went dark. Then a third. Commander Vex's voice was strained now. All units fall back to defensive formation. We underestimated them. But falling back meant clustering together, and that's exactly what Hyejin had been waiting for. She'd found something in the outpost armory. An ancient Talreth weapon called a resonance pulse. It wouldn't destroy ships, but it would disable their systems temporarily. Fire it now, she shouted. Voidheart released the pulse. A wave of invisible energy swept across the battlefield, and every Torvan ship went dark at once. Their weapons shut down. Their engines died. They drifted in space, helpless. The human fleet surrounded them, weapons ready. Daewon opened a channel to Commander Vec. You said we were outmatched, Daewon said. You were wrong. Humans might not have the biggest ships or the most advanced technology, but we adapt. We improvise, we work together, and we don't give up. Vec was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, respectful. I underestimated your species. I will not make that mistake again. We will retreat. But know this, the Combine will not forget what happened here. Neither will the rest of the galaxy. The Torvin systems slowly came back online. Their ships turned and jumped away, leaving the humans victorious. The human fleet erupted in cheers. Daewon slumped in his seat, exhausted but smiling. They'd won. Against all odds, they'd actually won. Captain, Voidheart said, I am detecting massive signal activity across galactic networks. The battle was broadcast on multiple channels. Millions of beings witnessed what happened. Humanity is no longer invisible. Heejin pulled up the news feeds. Aliens from dozens of species were discussing the fight. Some were impressed. Others were concerned. A few were openly hostile. But everyone was talking about humans. Bo-young laughed softly. Well, you wanted to make a statement. Congratulations. Now everyone knows humans are capable of more than cleaning and manual labor. But the displays showed something else too. Political bodies were convening emergency sessions. Military fleets were mobilizing. An organization called the Architects had released a statement warning about the dangers of Talrith technology. This is just the beginning, Teo said. We proved we can fight. Now everyone will be watching to see what we do next. Daewon nodded slowly. He'd wanted to prove humanity's worth, and he had. But in doing so, he'd made humans visible in a way they'd never been before. Some would see them as allies. Others would see them as threats, and somewhere out there, other Talrith ships were still activating, bonding with other humans. The network was growing, and nobody knew what it meant. Voidheart, Daewon said, show me those other ships again. The ones that activated. The galaxy map appeared, showing dozens of glowing points. As he watched, 3 more lit up. Then 2 more. The network was expanding faster now. Something was happening. Something big. And Daewon was right in the middle of it. 3 days after the battle, Daewon stood in Voidheart's command center, staring at the faces of 5 other humans on the displays. Each one was a captain of their own Talrith vessel. Each one had stumbled into this the same way he had. There was Bora, a hydroponics farmer from a mining colony. She'd activated her ship while watering plants in an abandoned greenhouse that turned out to be a Talrith biodome. Her vessel was called Greenlight, and it specialized in environmental systems and healing. Kyungsu was a cargo hauler who'd found his ship drifting in an asteroid field. He thought it was salvage and tried to claim it. The ship, named Ironwing, bonded with him the moment he touched the hull. It was built for transport and logistics. Soon-young was a medical assistant who'd discovered her ship in a derelict hospital ship. She'd been trying to recover medical supplies when the vessel, called Mercy's Hand, activated and chose her. It was designed for rescue and support operations. Wu Jin had been a data clerk, organizing files in an archive that turned out to be a Talrith information repository. His ship, Mindweaver, was smaller but incredibly fast, built for reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. And then there was Yoon, who was only 14 years old. She'd been a refugee, hiding in what she thought was an abandoned station. When she touched a wall panel trying to find food, the entire station revealed itself to be a dormant Talrith vessel called Haven. It was a mobile outpost, designed to protect and shelter 6 humans. 6 ships, all of them ordinary people who'd accidentally become something extraordinary. This is insane, Kyungsu said, shaking his head. I was hauling cargo a week ago. Now I'm a fugitive with an ancient alien warship, and half the galaxy wants to either recruit me or kill me. Welcome to my life, Daewon said with a tired smile. Bora leaned forward on her display. My ship has been showing me things. Records from the Talrith. They didn't just leave their technology behind randomly. They planned this. They were looking for a species that could use their power responsibly. And they chose humans? Soon-young asked skeptically. Have they seen our history? We're not exactly known for making great decisions. That's exactly why they chose us, Wu Jin said. He'd been studying the archives more than any of them. The Talrith didn't want a perfect species. They wanted one capable of growth. Humans are flawed, but we learn. We adapt, we change. That's what their technology responds to. Our potential, not our past. Before anyone could respond, a new transmission came through. It was marked with symbols none of them recognized, but Voidheart translated immediately. Warning from the architects. Do not proceed. The transmission opened, showing an elderly alien with 6 eyes and skin like polished stone. It spoke in Galactic Standard, its voice grave and serious. Human captains. We are the architects, descendants of civilizations that knew the Talrith. We understand you believe you have been chosen, but you have been deceived. The Talrith technology is dangerous. Their empire did not transcend, they fled. They escaped something they could not defeat. If you unite your vessels and activate the network fully, you will summon the same threat. You will doom your species and possibly the entire galaxy. The transmission showed images of destroyed worlds, fleets reduced to debris, entire star systems going dark. This is the Null Swarm, the architect continued, the Talrith's final enemy. They are drawn to Talrith technology like predators to prey. Every time you activate your ships, you send a signal. The swarm is listening. They are coming. If you wish to save your species, deactivate the vessels now. Hide the technology where it cannot be found. It is the only way. The transmission ended. The 6 humans looked at each other, fear clear on every face. They're saying we're going to destroy everything, Bora whispered. Maybe they're right, Kyung-Soo said. Maybe we should listen. We're just ordinary people. We're not equipped to handle something like this. Daewon felt the weight of the decision crushing down on him. He looked at his small crew, Heejin, Teo, Bo-young. They'd risked everything to follow him, and now he might be leading them all to destruction. Voidheart, he said quietly. Is it true? Are we summoning this Null Swarm? The AI was silent for a moment, longer than usual. When it spoke, its voice was careful and measured. Yes, the architects are correct about that. Every activation sends a signal. The Null Swarm will detect it eventually, but they are incorrect about one thing. The Talrith did not flee. They transcended. The swarm was not their enemy. It was their test. What do you mean? Hyojin asked. The Talrith believed that any species worthy of their legacy must prove themselves. They created the Null Swarm as evaluators. It is not a force of destruction. It is a force of judgment. When it arrives, it will assess whether your species is ready for the power you have claimed. If you fight, you fail. If you hide, you fail. The only way to pass is to show them what humanity truly is. That's a hell of a test, Teo muttered. Young Yoon spoke up, her voice small but clear. What happens if we fail? The swarm will eliminate all Talrith technology and anyone bonded to it. They will ensure humanity never has access to this power again. You will return to being invisible, unimportant, forgotten. Daewon thought about that. Going back to cleaning floors, being called primitive, watching humanity struggle for every scrap of respect. But if they failed this test, people might die. His crew, the other captains, maybe more. What do you all think? He asked the other captains. Bora was crying, but she spoke firmly. I spent my whole life growing food for aliens who never thanked me. Never even looked at me. If this is our chance to prove we matter, I want to take it. Kyung-Soo nodded slowly. I'm scared, but I'm tired of being nobody. Let's see this through, Soon-young smiled. I became a doctor to help people. If this technology can do that, we can't let it go. Woo-jin adjusted his glasses. I've read the archives. The Talrith left us everything, their knowledge, their history, their hopes. We owe it to them to try. And Yoon, despite being the youngest, spoke with absolute certainty. I've been running and hiding my whole life. I don't want to hide anymore. Daewon looked at his own crew. They all nodded. Even Bo-young, who'd been most skeptical, gave him an encouraging smile. Okay, Daewon said. We don't fight. We don't hide. When the swarm comes, we show them who we are. 4 days later, the Null Swarm arrived. They came not as ships, but as a living cloud. Millions of entities moving as one. They surrounded the human vessels, cutting off any escape. Sensors showed they had enough power to destroy entire planets. But they didn't attack. They waited. Daewon opened all channels. He didn't prepare a speech. He didn't try to sound impressive. He just talked the way he would to anyone. I'm Daewon. I'm a cleaner. Or I was before all this happened. The others with me are farmers, haulers, medics, clerks, and kids. We're nobody special. We didn't ask for this power. And we don't really know what we're doing. But we're trying to learn. He gestured to Hyejin, who pulled up images of humanity. Not impressive things like monuments or weapons. Simple things. Humans helping each other after disasters. Parents teaching children. Artists creating beauty, scientists asking questions, ordinary people doing ordinary things with kindness and persistence. We're not perfect, Day One continued. We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves. We've done terrible things in our history, but we also keep trying to be better. We adapt, we care about each other. We find hope even in the darkest places. That's what humans do. The swarm didn't respond. They just watched, evaluating, judging. The Talrith left us their technology because they believed we could use it responsibly. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. But if you destroy us now, you'll never know. Give us a chance. Let us prove what we can become. Silence stretched across space. Then slowly the swarm began to retreat. They didn't leave entirely, but they pulled back, creating distance. A single voice spoke, ancient and vast. Adequate. Your species shows sufficient balance between power and restraint. You may proceed, but we will watch. If you become what the Talrith feared, we will return. Then they were gone, vanishing into faster-than-light travel. The humans were alone again, breathing hard, hardly believing they'd survived. Messages started flooding in from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council was calling an emergency session. They were granting humans full membership status and access to restricted space lanes. Species that had dismissed humanity for generations were now offering trade agreements and alliances. Everything had changed. But Day One asked Voidheart to take him back to Meridian 7. When they arrived at the station, he walked through the familiar corridors to the cargo bay where this all started. His old supervisor was there looking at him like he was a ghost. I'd like my job back, Day One said. The supervisor blinked. You're a galactic figure now, a hero. Why would you want to clean ships? Because someone has to. And because I don't want to forget where I came from. He didn't work every day. He had responsibilities as a captain now. But a few times a week he'd put on his old uniform and clean. It kept him grounded. It reminded him that he was still just Day One, the cleaner who spilled his bucket. And across the galaxy, more Talrith ships continued to activate. A janitor on a remote station, a farmer on a colony world, a teacher on a settlement. Ordinary humans stumbling into extraordinary circumstances,